It's back together weekend presented by Ticketmaster. About 3,000 fans came out to check out practice. Today we heard from new pass rusher Frank Clark. Plus we have a one-on-one with Marquez Callaway. That's coming up next on Broncos Camp Daily. Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos Camp Daily. I am Phil Milani, pleased to be joined by the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and our guest today, Mark Schlereth.
Yes.
Mark, thanks so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Good to be with you guys.
Checking out practice a little bit today. What's the sense around this team? What do you think about this Broncos team?
No, I mean, I'm excited about it. I've known Sean for a long time, for the last 15, 20 years, whatever it is. And you know, they brings that credibility, brings identity, some things that I think really haven't been part of you know, this program for a while. So I'm very excited about that. The other thing I think that's really exciting for me is just understanding what he's done with quarterbacks, what he's done with different guys, not only Drew Brees, obviously, who's going to be a Hall of Famer like Steve, but you know, the things that he did, you know, when Teddy Bridgewater played for him, the things he did with Jameis Winston. So he's had that success, understands how to put guys in positions to have success as opposed to putting guys in positions to fail, and I think he'll do that with this football team, and particularly Russell Wilson at the quarterback position.
Yeah, Mark, I want to ask you, do you feel like players sometimes have a different level of respect for some coaches than others? In this case, with Sean Payton, than maybe with some other coaches around the league.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's done it before, and I think you get a lot of people out there that will talk about, well, he had Drew Brees. Well, Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees before he got Drew Brees, right? I mean, Drew Brees and Sean Payton, came together and developed an offense, and he developed into a Hall of Fame player. And I talked to Sean in depth about, I don't know, probably 2 seasons ago as I was preparing to get ready to do, my Fox game calls, and just said, hey man, what like game planning wise, what's the most important stuff? And one of the things he said to me, and it's always resonated with me, is, a lot of coaches, especially young coaches, will try to attack a weakness of a defense offensively, a weakness of a defense. And he goes, my first priority is not to attack the weakness of a defense, it's to mitigate my own weaknesses. And I think that's big when you talk about the quarterback position. It's about making sure you put players in positions to win as opposed to positions to fail. And Sean does an incredible job of that.
You talk about mitigating weaknesses. One of the things that he did right when he got here was add 2 offensive linemen, bringing in Mike McGlinchey and Ben Powers. You know a little bit about playing offensive line. What do you think about this unit?
I really like it. I like McGlinchey, and I think McGlinchey is a guy that, he's a tall guy. He's a good athletic guy. I think that was really good. Ben Powers, a really solid player. Not only good off the ball and big, strong guy, but when you watch him on film, really understands where his help is, how to funnel guys where he wants them. And so I thought those were 2 huge moves for the Broncos.
What else does this offense need? I mean, do you see any weaknesses in it? I know we don't have one pads yet, but
right. When you go back and watch Russell in 2020, and he was, for the first 8-10 games of the season, he was probably a leading candidate to be the MVP of the league. And when you watch, because he's shorter in stature like Drew Brees was, when you watch their quick game, their 3-step drop game, it's all outside the numbers, right? Because that's where you can see when you run outside the number stuff, if you're not 6'5", it's hard to throw it in the middle of the football field with the offensive line compressing, you're only in a 3-step drop. So get it outside the numbers where the offensive line is, up kicking their guys. The tackle opens up. There's a natural window out there. So you saw a lot of the smoke screen stuff, the bubble screen stuff, the slant stuff, the quick game, all outside the numbers. I think Sean Payton will put him in a position to do that, again, leaning on the strengths of what Russell Wilson can do. And then
Mark,
all that play
all
out.
the good stuff, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I think that's the stuff that you'll see them do. And like I said, I went back and really watched a bunch of tape on his 2020 season, and that's really what they did in Seattle. And I think you'll see a lot of that here.
Yeah.
Well, the Broncos wide receiver room is loaded. Let's go down field level and check in with Sidney Jones, who's with Marquez Callaway.
Quez, it's day 4 of training camp here. It's back together weekend. Now that practices are ramping up a bit, what do you like about the work the team's put in?
We've been putting a lot of work, weight room, classroom, and on the field. I think the fans enjoy it. I know we enjoy it. I think most of all the guys want to get out there with the pads on. So I know that's going to be fun starting next week.
Because I know you played for Sean Payton for a couple years in New Orleans. Back in 2021, you led the team in receiving yards with nearly 700, had 6 touchdowns. What is it about Sean Payton's system that works so well for you?
Sean just knows what he's doing. He has a nice rep, been in the league for a long time. He knows what he's doing. And if you just buy in and follow, good things happen. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to play with Sean again and ready to get this thing rolling.
Because as you know, this wide receiver group, they're a really close-knit, tight-knit group. So what has it been like working with Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy?
Oh, it's good. All the guys are different. Everybody got different, especially the personalities. I think that's the thing that surprised me most when I got here. But everybody's fun. You get to know them in a different way. I think I know them more. Well, I know them more than all the other guys. But the receiver room's special. They've been special for a long time, and I'm just glad I'm here to be a part of it.
Since there's so many receivers on the roster right now during camp, what are you hoping to do to kind of just stand out from the rest?
Just play my game. Still a little bit from Jerry's repertoire, still a little bit from Cortland, still a little bit from all the guys. Pick their brains, they pick my brain, and just become a better all-around player.
I love it. Quez, appreciate you joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Phil, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Sydney. Marquez, one of the guys in a very crowded wide receiver room. Mark, what do you think about this unit? I mean, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 1 now, but Cortland Sutton is there. Tim Patrick's coming back. What do you think about this unit?
Well, I think Tim Patrick's the best football player in that room, without question in my mind. And so, I'm really excited to see him come back from the ACL. Hopefully he's, completely healthy and he can be he's not that he's an explosive player, but he's a big player. He's got great catch, really understands the game. And then I'll be really interested to see how Jerry Jeudy progresses. My big critique of Jerry Jeudy is I understand his dynamic nature. I understand how quick he is and all those things. But he needs to understand the totality of football a little bit better. And when you're not a primary, that spacing, how important that is to tie up somebody underneath so somebody can get over the top and all that stuff. So I think those things are where he needs to take his game to the next level, and hopefully he can do that under Sean Payton and the rest of this offense.
If we can switch sides to the other side of the ball here, the Broncos brought in Frank Clark late in the offseason there. For the first time this offseason, we heard from the pass rusher.
Being here in Denver, Coach Payton, the staff, them giving me a chance, them, looking out. At the end of the day, they had offers on the table for me. You know what I mean? When you're the Broncos and you want somebody and you're pursuing somebody, that's just any team. When you're in pursuit of somebody, you make that obvious, and they made that pretty obvious that they wanted me to be a part of this organization. I'm not coming in here talking to these guys about, oh, man, I'm this Super Bowl champ, 2-time champ. I haven't said that one time to any of these guys. I'm coming in, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to get better going into year 9 like I'm going into year 1. And I'm just trying to make these guys understand the importance of appreciating this opportunity.
So he's going to pair up there with Randy Gregory, Mark. What do you think about how they're going to be able to get after opposing quarterbacks?
Well, if they're healthy, I think they'll be great. Randy Gregory's got to stay on the football field. I think they've got a great edge presence. And then when Browning comes back, and obviously Cooper, I think, can really play. So I think they've got a great rotation on the outside. But again, it comes down to, can you stay healthy? I think Frank Clark is a tremendous football player. So that's great. And then Zach Allen, the addition of Zach Allen, and DJ Jones is he's a guy that doesn't get credit that he probably deserves. Not that he's a great, not that he's going to be a big time pass rusher, but that guy can flat defend the run. So I think they've got the makings of good stuff going on. It's just a matter of being healthy and being able to answer the bell on every, on a 15, 17 weekends.
Is there a guy on defense that you're looking to make a jump this season?
Ooh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there are, we'll see who go the opposite corner from PS2
Mathis.
Mathis to make that, because I love one thing I loved about him last year. It was the game against the Chargers where I think he had 3 PIs in that game, and you know what? The guy never once I make one mistake in a game, and I was worthless for 2 drives. I was kicking myself and stuff. But, man, he just never lost any of his aggressiveness. He just came back out, and he ended up making some plays late in that game that were phenomenal plays. So there's something, he's got that about him that you have to have as a corner. You know, as you got what they always say, you got to have a short memory when you're playing corner or quarterback. And he certainly has that. So I'm excited to see what he becomes because I think he's a damn good player.
Yeah.
Love the way you break down games, Mark, and congratulations on 2 more years doing that with Fox.
Appreciate that.
We don't get a ton of Fox games, but will we see you at all? Hopefully, maybe.
Right now, you only have 1 Fox game on your schedule, and you all lobby for it. So
we got to make sure it's you. Stay at home here. So thank you very much for your time, Mark.
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate your insight there. That's Mark Schlereth joining us here. We'll be back on Monday when the pads come on, guys. But until then, for Steve Atwater, Mark Schlereth, I'm Phil Milani. This has been Broncos Camp Daily.